Hello and welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Nolene Ebel Ame and my sign language interpreter is Precious Ozomena. Now the headlines. President Tinubu joins other world leaders at the invitation of Pope Leo XVI at his inaugural mass at St. Peter's Square in Vatican. All Progressives Congress holds national summit, passes vote of confidence on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. 2 Israeli embassy workers shot dead in Washington. China's People's Liberation Army Navy have carried out a medical rescue drill on board naval hospital ship Auspicious Ark in the Yellow Sea. And here is the news. President Bola Tinubu has asserted that the economic blueprint of the present administration is working well for the economic reform of the country. President Tinubu stated this at the just concluded All Progressives Congress National Summit in Abuja. He said the economic reforms have turned around the economy of the country, providing the leeway for the creation of employment.
Through our Renew Hope agenda, our administration pledged to tackle economic instability, improve security nationwide, reduce corruption, reform governance, and lift our people out of poverty. How fast will you have reconstructed this country? If you allow the arbitrage in the exchange rates to continue, that is the grandmother, father of corruption. You could see FCC recovering over 750 something houses from one person. Locally here. Yes, we encountered challenges when we assumed office in May 2023. But we have made progress by implementing difficult, long overdue, but necessary economic reforms.
The party endorsed President Bola Tinubu as its sole candidate for the 2027 presidential election. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has said President Tinubu is not beholden to any cabal or shadow inner cycle, but welcomes a wide range of perspectives before making bold and informed decisions that are solely in the best interest of Nigeria. This was while delivering his address at the APC National Summit with the theme, Renewed Hope Agenda, the journey so far. The minister said President Tinubu remains committed to transforming Nigeria through the Renewed Hope Agenda with a blueprint that is turning obstacles into opportunities, as evident across all sectors through large-scale infrastructure, social investment programs, revamping of the nation's mining and petroleum sectors, among others. He equally highlighted the growing digital economy, where federal government is deploying 90,000 kilometers of fiber optic cable nationwide to bridge Nigeria's digital divide and support smart governance, attract digital investment, and enable secure e-services in education, healthcare, and commerce. Special Assistant to the Minister on Media in a statement said about 300,000 Nigerian students are now benefiting from the National Education Loan Fund, NEL Fund, while workers are accessing the new consumer credit scheme to buy essential goods. On security, the statement adds that the military has neutralized and arrested thousands of hostiles and rescued nearly 10,000 hostages, and more than 25 new aircraft have been acquired, while The Navy has taken delivery of 4 new vessels. Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tugar, has urged for a renewed commitment to multilateralism and a thorough examination of challenges hampering global peace and governance during the 3rd EU-AU ministerial meeting in Brussels. Recognizing the EU's continued support for African initiatives, Tugar underscored the importance of African nations sharing their progress and ongoing challenges related to peace, security and governance. He pointed out urgent issues such as the proliferation of small arms, climate change, violent extremism, irregular migration, and the fragility of democracy, calling for a deeper reflection beyond standard discussions. To this end, Yusuf Tugar cautioned on the global framework that is increasingly becoming more fragile while citing the disruptive roles of non-state actors, disinformation, and unregulated digital currencies. Despite these challenges, Tugar reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to multilateralism and strategic partnerships, highlighting the potential of the African continent, free trade area, and regional initiatives. He advocated for UN reform and fairer trade practices while addressing the internal pressures facing African governments in meeting rising public expectations. Citing historical works, Tugar stressed the importance of recognizing responsibilities alongside rights and pointed out the double standards in global responses to hate speech. In Africa, online hate speech is considered a price of freedom that leads to arrests. In other news, 2 Israeli embassy staffers committed to Israel-Palestinian dialogue and about to be engaged were killed by a lone gunman in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday night. Officials say a suspect who chanted pro-Palestine slogans is in custody. Justin Bemoyi reports.
The 2 were shot and killed as they left an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum, about 2 kilometers from the White House. Washington Metropolitan Police Chief Pamela Smith said a man shot at a group of 4 people with a handgun, hitting both the victims. He was seen pacing outside the museum prior to the shooting. The victims, Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgrim, were locally employed staff, the Israeli Foreign Ministry said. They were trying to promote reconciliation between Israelis and Palestinians, separate advocacy groups they belonged to said. Smith said the single suspect, identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago, chanted "Free Palestine, Free Palestine," after being taken into custody by event security having entered the museum. U.S. President Trump expressed his condolences to the victims' families and said the shooting is obviously based on anti-Semitism. And Secretary of State Marco Rubio also condemned the attack in a post on X, calling it a brazen act of cowardly anti-Semitic violence. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the attack horrifying, claiming that it is the cost of blood labeled against Israel amid the ongoing war in Gaza. The Prime Minister also announced increased security measures across Israeli diplomatic missions. The staff members, Yaron Lishinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgrim, were shot while they were leaving an event at the Jewish Museum. According to Israel's ambassador to the U.S., the victims are a couple who were about to be engaged in Jerusalem next week. Justin Bemoyi, NTA News.
And elsewhere, flash flooding on Australia's southeast coast has killed 3 people and cut off towns, isolating tens of thousands of residents as officials on Thursday warned that more downpours were expected over the next 24 hours. Major flooding hit several rural towns in the Hunter and mid-north coast regions of New South Wales, Australia's most populous state. With most of the mid-north Coast region facing further heavy rainfall through Thursday. Police said the body of a 63-year-old man was found in a flooded home near Tare, more than 300 kilometers north of Sydney, while another body, believed to be that of a missing man in his 30s, had been discovered in flood waters on the mid-north coast. The body of a 60-year-old woman was also found in her vehicle west of Coffs Harbour, police said. The woman had been cautioned against driving through the floods by an officer late on Wednesday. She was trapped and called for help, but emergency services were unable to locate her in time. Police said they were still searching for a missing man. This natural disaster has been terrible for this community, New South Wales Premier Chris Minns said during a media briefing. There's 140 flood warnings. 50,000 people are in the range where they have been asked to prepare to evacuate and could be isolated. And there has been 9,500 properties in the direct vicinity. So we are far from out of the woods here. More than 100 schools were closed on Thursday, while thousands of properties remained without power. China's People's Liberation Army Navy have carried out a medical rescue drill on board naval hospital ship Auspicious Ark in the Yellow Sea. The drills aimed at evaluating integrated training outcomes and strengthening the crew's capacity to respond to complex medical emergencies were carried out on China's third 10,000-ton class ocean-faring hospital ship. Footage shows emergency teams training running through the ship corridors in a mock emergency, coordinating lifeboat crews, moving injured personnel onto stretchers, and giving first aid on the domestically made ship. The Auspicious Ark is equipped with advanced equipment and it has comprehensive functions. Military hospitals can leverage the ship's advantage as a natural platform to provide specialized medical services. A crew member, Dai Zhengfen, said wherever the hospital ship goes, it delivers high-quality healthcare services to that location. Beyond the simulation, the ship's personnel hosted a medical outreach station offering diagnostic and healthcare services to frontline military personnel. The ECOWAS Parliament has adopted a set of revised internal rules aimed at enhancing discipline, accountability and participation among its members. The decision was made during the first ordinary session of 2025 held in Abuja.
Seated here are parliamentarians from 12 member countries coming together for a purpose. Addressing the 6th legislature under the theme, One Region, One Dream, Advancing the Promise of West Africa, President of the Nigeria Senate, Godswill Akpabio, urged member states to renew their commitment to regional integration and shared prosperity.
ECOWAS was never meant to be a concept. It was meant to be a clarion call to every West African that our journey to greatness had just begun, and together we can write and rewrite a new chapter in the history of our beloved region.
He called for urgent action to address currency volatility, inflation, and limited inter-regional trade. Other speakers reiterated the need for a stronger support for industrialization, small and medium enterprises, and infrastructure development.
This celebration will not only be a moment of rejoicing, but also a moment of reflection and introspection on our achievements and on our prospects. In this regard, a summit of the future of West Africa is being proposed. for our member states to agree on a compact on the future of the community.
This Silver Jubilee that we are celebrating must remind us that integration is not an inevitable destiny, but a daily choice that we must constantly cultivate and reinvent.
The celebration of Silver Jubilee of ECOWAS Parliament is scheduled for 16 November 2025. In Abuja, Muhammad Rabiu Ali, NTA News.
Vice President Kashim Shettima has described Nigeria as a prime investment destination following far-reaching economic reforms that has transformed the country's physical landscape. He stated this during a meeting with senior executives of Citibank's global leadership at the Villa. Abdurrahman Jibrila has the details.
This meeting is part of measures to encourage investors, assuring both local and foreign investors of government's commitment to securing investment and implementing policies that foster a transparent and enabling business environment. Vice President Kashim Shettima commended the American bank for its over 4 decades of consistent presence in Nigeria and noted Citibank's important role in supporting the country's economic resilience.
I'm quite pleased to meet you. And on behalf of my principal, I want to thank you most sincerely for your belief in the Nigeria project. Separately, we have been written off. Like the bird phoenix, we have been rising from the ashes of defeat. So we provide the workforce for the future. And we meet the industrial age. We meet the agricultural age. We are now in the knowledge-driven post-industrial age, and we are in a unique position to really take advantage and leapfrog our economy to the AI-driven world of big data, of Internet of Things. And our young people are very versatile.
On fiscal reforms, Vice President Kashim Shettima described the recently passed tax legislation as the most sweeping in the nation's history.
Global companies bring them and do business with them here in Nigeria, and also the Nigerian companies that want to do business in the rest of the world, and we accompany them in that process through facilitating payments, financing, etc., etc.
Mr. Ernesto reaffirmed Citibank's long-term commitment to Nigeria, lauding the government for enacting tough but necessary reforms. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International. We will take a short break. The news continues shortly. Thank you for staying with us on the news on NTA International. President Tinubu has communicated Senate seeking consideration and approval of 1.481 trillion naira budget of 2025 for Rivers State. In the letter read by President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, the President noted that the request is in line with the constitutional provisions as Rivers State is being administered by a sole administrator under the emergency rule, and National Assembly takes the role of oversight. The budget prioritizes health, education, infrastructure development, and other services.
Hence, the request for the approval of the Senate for the Rivers State Government 2025 Appropriation Bill. The appropriation bill for the year 2025 is in the total sum of 1,481 billion, wherein the sum of 324 billion is for infrastructure, both ongoing and new projects, while the sum of 166 billion is for the health sector, including 5 billion for free drugs for treatment of malaria and other common ailments. The sum of 75.6 billion is proposed for the educational sector, and the sum of 31.4 billion is proposed for agricultural purposes.
The request has been referred to the Senate Ad Hoc Committee oversighting emergency rule in Rivers for further legislative action. Embrace innovation and uphold truth, transparency and public trust as working guides in the discharge of your statutory responsibility. These were the messages of the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, at a capacity building workshop for information and public relations officers in Abuja. Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara reports.
Nigeria's media ecosystem is not left out in the ongoing reforms under the current administration, with specific focus on promoting press freedom and providing the necessary incentives for the media to thrive. The Minister of Information and National Orientation represented assured support for information and public relations officers across ministries, departments and agencies, and urged them to update their knowledge to enhance productivity.
The federal government has made significant progress in advancing press freedom and professionalizing government communication. Among the key achievements are investment in capacity building for public communicators to adapt to the digital age, regular engagement between the government and the media, fostering transparency and public enlightenment, initiatives to safeguard the welfare and safety of journalists in the discharge of their duties. These strides are a reflection of this administration's unwavering commitment to nurture a free, responsible, and modern media environment.
Other stakeholders, including the National President of Nigerian Union of Journalists, believe that with a bailout for the media and a media enhancement bill, the capacity of journalists will improve as strategic partners in nation building.
Most of the media organizations are not being up to date in terms of payment of salaries, are not up to date in terms of good equipment. It is high time now that we are talking about AI and the rest. Let us all come together, whereby government will come up with new innovation of giving bailout to the media outlets.
The capacity training is supported by UNESCO and feature presentations to prepare participants to be brave while reporting in view of the impact of artificial intelligence on press freedom and the media. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
On court proceedings, the Federal High Court has given the prosecution 6 days between 28th of May and 19th June 2025 for it to present all its witnesses in the trial of Nnamdi Kanu for alleged terrorism. Justice James Omotosho gave the order after the defense team had concluded the cross-examination of the second prosecution witness. Judiciary correspondent Austin Anyibe has the details.
During the cross-examination, the defense team played 3 video clips where a former chief of army staff, director of state security service, and a governor in the eastern part of Nigeria decried the spate of killings in some parts of the country, calling for a concerted effort to address the situation. The defense counsel, Paul Erokoro, senior advocate of Nigeria, who earlier tendered the flash drive through the bar, asked the witness to explain whether the comments made by them in the video were not calling for people to arm themselves. But the witness said he is not the maker of the video and not in position to interpret what they meant. The witness was asked whether he carried out any investigation on the NSAS protests, but he said he did not, but aware of the protests. He was asked whether the report of the NSAS protests indicted IPOB. He said no. On whether he knows any other person being prosecuted aside Nnamdi Kanu on the allegations of terrorism acts, the witness said he knows that the police are prosecuting some of them, but does not know their names and where they are being prosecuted. He was asked again about the formation of Amotekun in the southwest and what makes it different from the Eastern Security Network, ESN. He said the difference is that Amotekun is recognized by the governors of the southwest, whereas ESN is not. With the conclusion of the cross-examination, the prosecution counsel Adegboyega Awomulu, senior advocate of Nigeria, re-examined the witness where he sought clarification on the comments made in the video clips watched, and he said all the head of the security agency said was that communities that have security challenge and wants to engage terrorists should come forward for guidance and approval on how to defend themselves. On the governor of one of the states in the southeast attributing killings there to politicians, the witness said investigation carried out in the area attributed killings there to different groups. Justice James Omotosho, following the accelerated hearing agreed upon by parties, fixed 28th and 29th May, 6th, 16th, 18th, and 19th June 2025 for prosecution to present all its witnesses. From the Federal High Court, Abuja, Austin Anyebe, NTA News.
And that concludes the news on the NTA International. Thank you so much for watching. I am Nolin Ebel Ame, and my sign language interpreter has been Precious Ozomina. Bye-bye.